All right, everyone. This is Nathan Lindorf with The Rational Independent. Welcome to my hotel room. I'm finishing up a trip to Reno, and so I'm going to film a couple of videos here, testing out the lighting and the sound. I think it's going to work okay. So for today's Reddit rant, we're going to pick one of the left-slanting articles that relate to President Trump's town hall last night on CNN, which was interesting. I watched pretty much all of it, overlaid with some commentary from a group of podcasters that are decidedly pro-Trump, and listened to them and looked at the way they perceive the interactions between the audience, the moderator, and President Trump. And then I looked today at some of the coverage that this has been given from the left. And we have a problem as a country. From the right, from the people who are clearly biased towards Trump, I heard a lot of commentary like, this is exactly what President Trump needs to do to win. This is effective. This is good. He's performing well. I'm not saying I agree with these comments necessarily. I'm reporting what I heard. They also tend to agree with him on the facts that he brought up and to disagree with the moderator on the assertions that she made. And regardless of your political affiliation, I think it's worth recognizing that there is a huge chunk of the American population that endorses similar attitudes and beliefs. The idea that President Trump is a fringe character, someone who can safely be ignored, is ludicrous given the massive amount of people who are willing to support him politically. He is currently the front runner in the Republican Party. That gives him an air of credibility. He's a former candidate. He's the current front runner. He's newsworthy. Whether or not you agree with what he's saying, whether or not you think he's a buffoon, he and his opinions carry enough weight that they should be worth reporting on and worth bringing to light. That's my belief. It's pretty clear, given the article we're touching on today, that Vice News does not agree. Trump's ridiculous CNN town hall proves they have learned nothing. It is insulting to claim CNN's decision to air 70 minutes of the former president riffing, lying, and insulting the network's own moderator was about anything other than money. Before we dive into the body of this article, they're saying that it would be insulting to CNN to ascribe any other motive to them other than to view this as a cash grab. I can't follow that logic. That moral framing doesn't make any sense to me. I thought we were supposed to have principles and ideals and express them through our politics. I thought that subverting political process and reporting process to a cash grab was a moral failing. But Vice is bringing out their opinion, that the only non-insulting motive to give CNN is to say they did it for the money. Okay, that's their point. Let's continue with the body of this particular article. 47 minutes into CNN's town hall with former President Donald Trump on Wednesday, midway through a debate whether or not Trump really has what it takes to build the wall, Caitlin Collins, the moderator, had had enough. The election was not rigged, Mr. President. You cannot keep saying that all night long, the CNN host protested. You cannot keep saying the elections were rigged. Okay, good, I know, Trump said. I'm glad you were saying it. Before we go any further, there's this weird thing with the left. I call it the school marm phenomenon. When you have a little boy who's misbehaving, his school teacher might scold him, and in his shame, he will accept that correction and change his behavior because a female authority figure has chided him and corrected him. But they take that and try and do the same thing in real life among adults in public by people who are not acknowledged authorities, speaking in this kind of chiding, demeaning, scolding tone. A CNN moderator whose show gets probably less than 100,000 people, definitely less than that in the demo. This moderator has a very small amount of power in American politics. Very small amount, even in the culture. And she is acting as though she gets to basically not reason with, but say, you're not allowed to say this. That opinion is out of bounds. You can't say that. Where do you get off with that attitude? What makes you think that that's appropriate? He can be wrong. He's allowed to be wrong. In America, with the First Amendment, we are gloriously allowed to screw up. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to be ignorant. It's okay to say stuff that is not factually correct. It's also okay to say stuff that is factually correct and it's unpopular. That's acceptable parts of the discourse. It's both not going to work and it's insulting in concept. The coverage goes on to ascribe the audience's reactions to President Trump as his own personal laugh track because he effectively played the room. Donald Trump is a charismatic person, someone who can be quite funny in person, especially when contrasted with the school marm he's sharing a stage with. He has a good sense of comedic timing. Maybe that makes him poor at policy, or maybe that doesn't speak to his ability to lead, but he's an entertainer at his heart. He knows how to connect with people. You gave him a live audience of fairly friendly people, and they were charmed by him. How is this a surprise to anybody? This is what he does. This is one of his specialties. It's like saying, we put Gordon Ramsay in the kitchen, and would you believe the audacity of the man? He made something delicious and insulted someone in the process. Yeah, that's his whole shtick. That's what he does. They decide to go ahead and pull out a particular excerpt of this town hall. And as a quick aside, I want to say the town hall format, I kind of get it, but it's also kind of a mess. And here's why. It's not a debate. There is no moderator. And yet at times it looked like President Trump was debating with the presenter of the town hall. It's definitely not a debate between the president and the people in the audience because they stand up, they say their question, and then he just gets to go off. There was one point where someone in the audience asked a question that had some good substance to it. And like a good politician, President Trump answered the question he wanted to answer, not the question he was asked. The question was about business regulation and government interference with business. And I'm pretty sure Donald Trump took it to the war on terror. I forget exactly what tangent he went off on, but he just completely blew past it. And it's not like that audience member was given a chance to follow up and say, no, you ignored my question. Structurally, it's odd. Further, it's odd because it seems to be created to give a verisimilitude of engaging authentically with the regular American person. But the moderator, the person running this thing, gets to choose who asks the questions, gets to choose which questions are asked. They're all prepared in advance, they're all pre-screened, they're all approved. You don't see the opportunity to dynamically engage with non-politically connected American people in a genuine exchange where they ask questions unscripted, off the cuff, what's genuinely of concern to them. That's what a town hall is supposed to be. But when you run it through the washing machine of one of these major media networks, that's not what comes out, although it kind of looks like it. So those are some of my concerns with the town hall format. Here's an opportunity where we're talking about something, when we're talking about the debt ceiling, and President Trump is making the audience laugh. And the moderator says, you once said the debt ceiling as a negotiating wedge could not happen. Trump, sure, that's when I was president. So why is it different now? Because now I'm not president. That's utterly foolish and vain to say. It's hypocritical. It's not logically sound. But in the moment, the audience laughed. It was funny. It entertained the people in front of him. He played to the crowd. Does that mean that we're discussing things of substance? Does that mean that this is a policy statement that he's now made as a serious candidate that he's going to hold to? No, that's not how President Trump operates. Whether you like that or don't like that, that's reality. That's what we're dealing with. For myself, I'd prefer a little more substance and a little less laugh track. That's not what I'm going to get with Donald Trump. Vice goes through a whole litany of positions that Donald Trump expounded on during these, 70 minutes, hour plus town hall that they claim are lies. But from President Trump and the people who support him, from their perspective, these are not lies. These are facts that are outside the left's narrative. For instance, he says at one point, Democrats want to kill a baby in the 9th month of pregnancy. That's not technically true because technically the medical term for a baby still inside the womb is a fetus. So you can call that a lie because he had the audacity to use the wrong label to refer to the life that is inside the mother and ready to be born. That is technically not factual. However, it's true in the sense that it is the Democratic Party's platform to support abortion all the way through the full term. That is what they advocate for. That's in the Democratic Party platform. So that's a true statement, even if the facts, even if the labels don't line up with what you're. At another point, they had a little kerfuffle about his handling of documents, classified documents. And he says he had every right, this is from the reporting, he had, quote, every right, unquote, to take classified documents from the White House. But that's not his position. His position is that as president, he has declassification authority, which is true. And that when he removed the papers, that act was him declassifying it, which if he declassified them, he's not taking classified documents from the White House. He's taking declassified documents from the White House. Therefore, what they're asserting is not what he's saying, but you have to dig into the nuance, the wrinkly bits of this issue to understand what we're talking about. The president, in his person, has plenary power over classification, both to classify and declassify. That is something that is held in the office of the presidency. Constitutionally, that's pretty sound. Because he has that, when he's president, he has the authority to say, these are now declassified. He has the authority to say, these are now classified. That's something presidents get to do, whether or not you like the particular president or who's doing it. Guess who doesn't have that right? Vice presidents and senators. Guess who was in possession of a whole lot of classified documents? Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. Guess what they didn't have the power to do? They didn't have the power to declassify documents because they weren't president. This is a material difference between the case that's being presented by Trump and his allies and the case that's being reported in the left. If you accept what the left presents to you at face value, then you think Donald Trump is in the wrong because he took classified documents and personally possessed them after he left office, which is problematic to say the least. But if that's not what he did, then it's not problematic. There's like 10 of these things that are, from Vice's perspective, obvious lies that Donald Trump said. But as I just said in pointing out 2 of them and just explained, there is at least a credible counterposition. Wherever these debates end up, that is yet to be decided. These are open issues. We don't know how the abortion debate is going to wind up in the wake of Roe versus Wade. That is all very up in the air. We don't know exactly how classified documents will be handled going forward. We don't need to know that right this second. The leftist media presents these issues as if there is only one credible position and anything else is crazy talk. And I'm going to back that up here. I'm going to back it up with their closing statement. Give them the last word. Giving one of the most consequential liars in American history more than an hour of free time to do exactly what he's done for the last 8 years is not offering viewers a balanced perspective. And it's not some kind of brave truth-telling exercise. It's a desperate plea for relevance. The only way not to screw this up is to never have done it in the first place. On that point, Licht and CNN failed spectacularly. Elsewhere in the article, he goes on to describe what he means by that, by saying that CNN should not have even held this town hall. They should not have given President Trump the airtime. They should not have given him the platform. So in other words, their position is President Donald Trump doesn't get to speak. His positions that he's putting forward are so beyond the pale, they should not be entertained by any serious thinkers. They shouldn't even be debated because there is no credible counter-argument, counter-position in that argument. That's their position. If you accept that, then you're going to live in a leftist bubble that tells you exactly what to think, and your world will be very coherent and very tidy and very wrong. You will not be in sync with reality. Reality is messy and weird and debatable and glorious. If your ideas can't stand up to the pressure of someone speaking against them, If your ideas can't stand up to the pressure of someone who is charismatic and persuasive presenting a counter-argument, then your ideas are terrible, or they're dishonest, or both. So where does this leave us? It looks like the left is making the argument that is consistent with their behavior over the last decade or so. The facts are simple. President Donald Trump, when he was president, was banned from social media. Think about that. Private companies told the sitting president of the United States, we're not going to allow you to speak. And they got away with it. They were applauded for it. Their credibility rose because of that. Serious thinkers said the right choice is to take someone who got enough votes to get elected, someone who holds the loyalty of 100 million plus people, and tell all those people that their representative doesn't get to speak. That he, and by extension they, are so outside the bounds of civilized society that they need to be banished, that they need to be exiled. I can't go there. There's plenty of things I don't like about President Donald Trump. He's bombastic, he's argumentative, he's vain, he's selfish. He loves to play to the crowd. He loves to build himself up. At one point in this town hall, he said he would solve the Ukraine-Russia conflict in 24 hours. He would have it settled in 24 hours. I think a new approach is probably useful in that conflict. That conflict has been building and holds roots from hundreds of years of history. And it's a very different culture than ours. The idea that one man thinks that he is so incredibly charismatic that he personally can just go fix it is foolish and vain. And it goes deeper than that. Even if he's right, he's only right for 4 years. Even if he succeeds in tamping down some of the global tensions, even if he succeeds in recovering the economy and making it better and reducing inflation, even if he makes all of this better because of his own personal animal magnetism, he has proven singularly incapable of building an administration underneath him to carry on his will beyond him personally. He fails the test of a leader, that is to build people underneath him up, to craft a common vision that can be executed by wider and wider circles of people who can see what needs to be done and follow that strategic guidance, so that even after the loss of the leader, the movement carries forward. I'll give you a perfect example of someone who exemplifies these principles of leadership. It's a problematic example because people might take it out of context and say I'm comparing the two. Not in any meaningful way, other than on this one particular point regarding leadership. Christ, when he lived, was a penniless, wandering carpenter. He had no wealth. He had no influence. He died an ignominious death, with the title over him, King of the Jews, put there as a cruel joke by the Roman conquerors who ruled his country. By every worldly measure, he failed. But he built behind him a foundation of principle that his followers could follow on and lead with and grow with and build, and in many ways, change the world, separate and aside from who he was in his personal leadership. To be abundantly clear, Trump is not Jesus. If anything, he's the opposite of Jesus. He is a leader who builds up himself and carries forth the vision of what he thinks is best by personally putting himself on the line. That takes bravery, that takes courage, that takes heart. Those are good things in a leader. But he lacks wisdom, he lacks temperance, he lacks humility, he lacks the willingness to stick to a coherent set of principles that others can rally behind. Trump will never lead a movement beyond his own personal charisma. He has proven incapable of doing so. Like I said, I have plenty of reasons why I don't like President Donald Trump. But the attitude that you are so entitled to what is true, to what is reasonable, to what is right, that you get to decide that your political opponent doesn't even get to speak, by extension is wrong to think those things, is so incredibly arrogant, it boggles the mind. We have the proverbial unstoppable hammer meets the immovable object. We've got problems, both culturally and politically. I don't see any easy solutions, but these are the opening shots, the opening salvo of the 2024 presidential election. It's going to get a lot messier before we're done. That's my Reddit rant for today. Good luck out there.